I stood at the entrance of the restaurant with a neatly wrapped gift in one hand and my phone in the other. The family group chat said dinner started at 7. It was 7:05. I wasn't late. I smiled at the hostess and gave my cousin, Emma's name. She nodded politely before leading me toward a private room at the back of the restaurant. I could already hear laughter. The kind of laughter that only comes from people who have known each other forever. The kind I hadn't heard directed at me in years. As I stepped inside, nearly 20 relatives filled the room. My uncles were joking with each other. My aunts were taking pictures. My cousins were raising glasses celebrating Emma's 25th birthday. No one noticed me. Not at first. I waited by the door expecting someone to wave me over. Instead, I heard my younger cousin Tyler whisper loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Oh, he actually came." Several people looked at me. Then they looked away. I forced a smile. "Happy birthday, Emma." She gave me a quick hug. "Thanks, glad you made it." That was it. No excitement. No warmth. Just politeness. I looked around the table. Every chair was occupied. Every single one. I laughed awkwardly. "Looks like I'm late." Emma's smile faded. "Oh." She looked around as if noticing for the first time. "I guess there isn't another seat." Before anyone could speak, my father leaned back in his chair and shrugged. "Well?" He took another sip of his drink. "You're not really one of us tonight anyway." The room fell silent. For a second, I honestly thought he was joking. I waited for him to laugh. He didn't. Neither did anyone else. Instead, my uncle chuckled. "I told you we counted wrong." Someone else muttered. "It'll be fine, he can wait." Wait. For what? Another table, another chair, another family. The hostess walked in carrying extra menus. She looked confused. "Do we need another place setting?" Before I could answer, my father waved his hand. "No, we're good." She looked at me. I looked at the floor. I'll just stand." She hesitated before walking away. Dinner continued. Conversations resumed. As if nothing had happened, I stood beside the wall holding a birthday gift while everyone else enjoyed appetizers. No one offered me their seat. No one asked the restaurant for another chair. No one seemed bothered. After about 10 minutes, one of the waiters quietly approached me. "Sir, I'm sorry. I think we can bring another chair." Before I answered, my father interrupted. "Don't worry about him. He's leaving soon." The waiter frowned. "But it's fine." The waiter reluctantly walked away. I felt every eye in the room avoiding mine. Not looking at me somehow hurt more than staring would have. My younger cousin Lily finally stood. "You can have my seat." Before I could thank her, her mother grabbed her arm. "Sit down." She obeyed immediately. I looked at my aunt. She wouldn't even meet my eyes. That was the moment I realized this wasn't an accident. No one had forgotten to reserve me a chair. They had simply decided I didn't need one. I quietly placed Emma's gift beside the presents. "Happy birthday." She smiled awkwardly. "Thanks. Nothing else." No apology. No explanation. Just thanks. I turned and walked out. Nobody stopped me. Not even my father. Outside, the cold evening air hit my face. I sat on a bench across the street pretending to scroll through my phone while trying not to let anyone see the tears forming in my eyes. I was 32 years old. I owned my own apartment. I had a stable career. People respected me at work. Yet, one sentence from my father had made me feel like a little boy again. "You're not really one of us tonight." The words echoed over and over. This wasn't the first time. Growing up, my younger brother Daniel had always been the favorite. When Daniel failed an exam, he tried his best. When I earned straight A's, that's what we expect. When Daniel quit another job, he's finding himself. When I worked 60-hour weeks, you only care about money. Different rules, different expectations. Same family. I kept telling myself things would improve as we got older. Families mature. People change. Apparently not. My phone buzzed. It was my mother. "Where did you go?" I stared at the message for almost a minute. Then I typed, "Home." Her reply came instantly. "People are asking." I laughed bitterly. "No, they weren't. If anyone had been asking, someone would have noticed." I'd been standing against a wall for half an hour. I put my phone away. An hour later, another message arrived. From my father. "You embarrassed the family tonight." I blinked. "Embarrassed them?" I replied. "How?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Finally, walking out made everyone uncomfortable. Not leaving me without a seat. Not excluding me. Walking out, that was apparently the problem. For the first time in my life. I didn't apologize. Instead, I turned my phone off. The following Monday, I buried myself in work. Numbers made sense. Spreadsheets didn't play favorites. Deadlines didn't judge you because you weren't the favorite child. Around lunchtime, my manager stopped by my office. "You okay? You've barely spoken today." "I'm fine." He looked unconvinced. "You know, my wife always says something." I smiled politely. "What's that?" "If people only remember you when they need something, they don't miss you. They miss what you provide." I didn't understand why that sentence hit me so hard. Maybe because somewhere deep down, I already knew it was true. The real question was, how long had my own family felt that way about me? For the next 3 weeks, I didn't call anyone in my family. I didn't send messages. I didn't check the family group chat. For the first time in years, I stopped chasing people who never seemed interested in keeping up with me. It was strangely peaceful. I spent more time with friends, worked out after work, and even took a short weekend trip by myself. I realized how quiet life could be when you weren't constantly trying to earn someone's approval. Then one Friday afternoon, my phone rang. It was my father. I almost ignored it. Instead, I answered, "Hello." His voice sounded unusually cheerful. "There you are. I've been trying to reach you." I stayed silent. "We're having a family barbecue this Sunday. You'll be there." "Not would you like to come? Not we'd love to see you? Just another order." "I don't think so." There was a pause. "What do you mean?" "I'm busy." He laughed. "Busy doing what?" "Living my life." Silence. Then his tone changed. "Don't be dramatic about what happened at the restaurant. It wasn't a big deal." I finally said what had been sitting in my chest for years. "It wasn't about the chair. It was about the message. You told everyone I wasn't really part of the family." He sighed impatiently. "Oh, come on. It was just a joke." No one laughed. He had no answer. Instead, he muttered, "You're too sensitive." I ended the call. The next morning, my mother came to my apartment without warning. She looked tired. "I wish you two would stop fighting." I invited her inside. She sat quietly before speaking again. "Your father did not mean it." I looked at her. "Did he apologize?" She lowered her eyes. "No." "Then what exactly didn't he mean?" She couldn't answer. Instead, she changed the subject. "You know how he is." "I do. That's the problem." She sighed. "I just want everyone together again." "So do I, but together doesn't mean accepting disrespect." For the first time, she had nothing to say. Before leaving, she hugged me. It felt sincere, but it also felt like she wanted peace more than justice. A month passed. Life moved on. Then one evening, my cousin Emma called. "I owe you an apology." I hadn't expected that. For what? I knew there wasn't a seat. I stayed quiet. I noticed before everyone arrived. I felt my stomach tighten. "So why didn't you say something?" She began crying. "Because Uncle David, my dad, and your father said it didn't matter. They said you probably wouldn't stay long anyway." I closed my eyes. So everyone knew. "Most of us," she whispered. "I'm sorry." It wasn't enough to erase what happened, but it was the first honest apology anyone had offered. 2 weeks later, my grandmother celebrated her 80th birthday. This time I wasn't planning to go. Then Grandma herself called me. "If you don't come, my birthday won't feel complete." I couldn't say no to her. When I arrived, something was different. At the center of the dining room was a table with a small card. It read, "Reserved." My name was written neatly underneath. Everyone saw it, including my father. He looked uncomfortable. Dinner began quietly. Halfway through the meal, Grandma tapped her glass. "I want to say something." The room fell silent. She looked directly at my father. When this family forgets kindness, it forgets everything. No one moved. Then she turned toward me. "I heard what happened. I'm ashamed. You deserved better." Those words hit harder than I expected, because they came from the one person whose opinion had always mattered. My father shifted in his chair. Finally, he stood. He cleared his throat. "I suppose I owe you an apology." The room waited. He looked at me for a long moment. "What I said was wrong. I embarrassed you. I shouldn't have." It wasn't perfect. There were no tears, no dramatic speech, but for a man who had almost never admitted fault, it meant something. I nodded. "Thank you." That was enough. Forgiveness didn't mean pretending nothing had happened. It simply meant I refused to carry the anger forever. Over the following months, our relationship changed. Not because everything became perfect. It didn't. My father still had his flaws, but he slowly stopped taking me for granted. He called just to ask how work was going. Sometimes we had coffee together. Sometimes conversations were awkward. Healing usually is. The biggest change happened inside me. I stopped measuring my worth by how my family treated me. I realized respect isn't something you beg for, it's something you protect. If people can't offer it willingly, distance becomes necessary. One evening, almost a year after the birthday dinner, Emma hosted another family gathering. When I arrived, she smiled. "Come on, your seat's waiting." I looked toward the table. Right in the middle was a chair with my name on it. Everyone smiled as I sat down. Even my father. This time no one had to remind them I belonged there, because I had finally learned something important. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't fighting for a seat at someone else's table. It's walking away until they understand why it should have been there all along.